You need to be fluent in both worlds. The courtroom requires formality, but the jury requires humanity. Welcome to the Foster Your Voice podcast with me, Christy Foster. After a 30-year career in music and theater, I never imagined I'd be coaching trial attorneys. But once I entered your world, I quickly realized how critical and underutilized voice is in the courtroom. The truth is, you don't win trials with brute strength. You win with your voice. I'll give you tools to unlock your voice so you can communicate not just with purpose, but on purpose. If you want quick action tips to help you stay calm and in control, keep jurors engaged, and inspire your listeners to action, all through the power of your voice, you're in the right place. I'm Christy Foster, and I'm here to help you foster your voice. Hello, Foster fam. Woo, I hope you are enjoying your summer and making the most of outdoor opportunities. I personally don't love the sun, which for the rainy Pacific Northwest, I feel a little guilty about it. We don't get very many long stretches of sun, so it feels like I should really lean in, but I'm a tender little flower and I just wilt in these warmer days. But summer does hold the joy of some outdoor activities as long as I time them correctly. Right? So going for a walk early in the morning before it gets too hot. Hopefully that's the same for you and you're fighting off the humidity and the mosquitoes in your area with great success. Well, we are now well into the back six of the year. So it's a good time to just check in with your goals and see if you're still on track. I know it's a good time for me to just take stock occasionally and reassess from time to time. Some goals or intentions that I set at the start of the year turned out to be irrelevant. Just didn't seem important once I got going into the activities of my year. Others I'm doing okay with. But to be honest, there are a few that I'm like, what in the world? I'm nowhere near where I want to be. So it's a good time to just revisit one of my favorite soundtracks. A soundtrack is a mantra of sorts, or just a catchy phrase to play on repeat for good mental resets and reminders. This is one of my favorites from John Acuff, one of my favorite authors, who wrote the book Soundtracks. And it's this: I am the CEO of my actions, not the CEO of my outcomes. Now, for me, that means that instead of looking at the result that I'm hoping to accomplish, it's time to look at what I'm doing to move closer to that desired result. I mean, now that I'm saying it out loud, I know it sounds kind of like, but duh, that's pretty clear, Christy. But honestly, it's really easy to hyperfixate on the outcome and to call that my goal. But my goal really is rooted in the actions I'm taking. So, say for instance, you might have set a goal of wanting to lose 10 pounds. I use weight examples because they're just easy. Everybody's kind of had some experience around weight loss or weight gain. So, say you set a goal wanting to lose 10 pounds, but that can't be the goal. That's the outcome. The true goal is in the actions you take to get to that outcome. So the goal might be to leave a few bites behind at every meal. Another goal is to do 30 minutes of body movement per day. Those are the things you actually have control over. Losing 10 pounds will be a happy outcome, but you're truly not in control of that. I am the CEO of my actions, not my outcomes. I'd love to hear from you. What are some goals that you're just wanting to tighten up And are they truly a goal or is it an outcome? And if you find it's an outcome, what are the action steps? That's the goal. I'd love to hear from you. Send me an email so I can encourage you and support you as you continue to work on those goals. My email is Kristi, Kristi, at fostervoicestudio.com. Kristi at fostervoicestudio.com. Send me an email and we'll get through our goals together. Hey, real quick, if your jurors look confused when you say liability, standard of care, or damages, they're not tuning out because they don't care. They're tuning out because they don't speak law. I've put together a free guide called Top 20 Legal Terms to Avoid and What to Say Instead. It'll help you simplify your language without losing credibility, so your message actually lands. Download it now at fostervoicestudio.com/top20 or click the link in the show notes. All right, back to the episode. Today, we're talking about a courtroom skill that's, I think, rarely taught, but it's always tested. And that's your ability to be bilingual. I'm not talking Spanish and English, but legalese and plain spoken, human-centered communication. If you want to win over jurors, connect with witnesses, and lead the courtroom confidently, you have to master the art of speaking so they get it. Let's start with a truth that it might sting a little bit. You're too good at your job. This sounds like a compliment, and it is partly. You've trained for years to speak fluent court. You are a legal linguist. You use phrases like, the burden hasn't shifted, prejudicial outweighs probative, and goes to bias with total confidence because this is your native courtroom tongue. This is the language of the court, and you are fluent. You can turn phrases like summary judgment is inappropriate at this stage, or the record is devoid of evidence. You can turn those into complete thoughts without giving it a second thought. You've trained your brain to think in arguments, structure, and case law, and you are very good. Being able to do what you do requires mastery of the court language, and you did the right thing by dedicating yourself to this skill. It's truly remarkable. But the people deciding your case, they don't speak that language. Never in my entire life have I had a conversation that incorporated the phrase goes to bias or devoid of evidence. Regular, everyday people don't speak like that. So you've got to be bilingual, speaking the language of the court and equally speaking the language of the people. And no one ever taught you how to code switch. So let's take a closer look at this issue. In any given courtroom, you're moving between two distinct audiences. There's the legal world, the judges, opposing counsel, expert witnesses. And then there's the human world, jurors, lay witnesses, even your own client, okay? Each audience requires different styles of communication. A lot of attorneys don't realize they're code switching, or worse, they don't code switch at all. They speak in fluent court all day long and then wonder why the jury looks confused, disconnected, and bored. Well, it's if you only speak fluent legalese, your jurors are going to miss the point. And if they miss the point, they're going to fill in the gaps with emotion, guesswork, or they're going to listen more to whoever has the more confident voice in the deliberation room. And that voice won't be yours because you're not in that room. And let's not limit this just to the jury. You need to make sure your deponents understand you clearly too. One of my clients said in a coaching session when we were debriefing a recent deposition that they sometimes felt like the witness was answering a totally different question than what they had asked. Now, of course, there are several reasons why this would be the case. But don't you want to make sure that it's not because you lacked linguistic clarity? Now, here's what we know from research. The human brain has a limited capacity for processing new information, especially when it's under stress or fatigue. And the courtroom environment creates both stress and fatigue. Your jurors aren't stupid, but they are under a cognitive load. They're taking in unfamiliar terminology, new names, evidence, emotional stories that are heart-wrenching, legal standards and procedural instructions in a very formal and stuffy environment, all while navigating their own internal reactions and group dynamics. It's a lot. They have cognitive overload. So, what does the brain do when it hits overload? It starts filtering. It tunes out language it doesn't understand. It clings to what feels simple, familiar, and emotionally resonant. And that's your opportunity. You've got to be the voice that cuts through the noise, not by dumbing things down, but by making ideas stick. This means clear structure, concrete words, and yes, speaking like a real human, not a case caption, not a deposition transcript, not a law review article. Think about your jury. They didn't go to law school. They don't spend their days arguing motions or writing briefs. They're high school teachers, truck drivers, office administrators, parents, retail workers, retired folks, and they are smart, but they're not fluent in your dialect. So when you say the defense failed to uphold the requisite duty of care, they hear, what? Now, you say the same idea as, he didn't do what he was supposed to do, and that's what hurt her. Suddenly, they get it. They can repeat it. They can use it when they walk into deliberation. And that's your goal, to give them language they can carry with them. Because once they leave the courtroom, you're not there anymore. You don't get to clarify. You don't get to explain again. Your words have to live in that room without you. Now, here's where the real finesse comes in. You don't really get to choose between formal and informal communication. You're toggling back and forth, often in the same sentence. Let's say you're questioning an expert witness. You need precision, formal terms, exactitude. But then you have to pivot to the jury to recap or explain. That's when you shift gears. That's when your language softens, shortens, simplifies. That's when your tone changes too. This shift isn't just verbal, it's vocal. It's pace, it's rhythm, it's where you pause, it's where you look. When you address the judge, you stand tall, you're efficient, you're direct. When you turn to the jury, your voice warms. You offer clarity. You make space for them to catch up, to track with you and trust you. Because that's what builds rapport. That's what builds permission. And ultimately, that's what builds a verdict. So, how do you develop this bilingual muscle? You can't learn it on Duolingo. You get aware first. Start noticing. When are you speaking to the judge, but your voice still sounds like you're in voir dire? When are you speaking to the jury, but your words still sound like the law review? Where are the spots in your opening or closing where a juror might mentally drop out? And then start rewriting. Not to simplify your argument, but to amplify your clarity. Use metaphor, use short sentences, use the power of repetition, use imagery. Say it like you'd explain it to your cousin over coffee, because if she can understand it and repeat it, you've won. And here's something else to remember. Emotion is a memory enhancer. If you can anchor your facts to a human emotion, whether that's fear, injustice, hope, or grief, the brain holds on to it longer. That's why storytelling matters. That's why tone matters. And that's why cold, sterile legalese on its own will never win hearts or minds. Go back and listen to episode 23 about how to balance logic and emotion. You're not just a legal strategist. You have to help the jury learn and then lead on your client's behalf. So here's the takeaway. You need to be fluent in both worlds. The courtroom requires formality, but the jury requires humanity. You're not choosing one or the other. You're switching strategically based on context, audience, and purpose. But ultimately, the jury can't take you into deliberation with them, but they can carry a sticky phrase. They can remember the way you made them feel, and they can speak your client's truth in language that compels and advocates on their behalf. So keep doing the good work. Keep learning the language of people. And download my free list of the top 20 legal terms to avoid. I'll put the link in the show notes. Start there. And as always, keep fostering your voice. Thanks for pulling up a seat with me today and for being part of the Foster fam. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, go ahead and leave a review or a comment so I can give you a shout out on a future episode. During the week, you can find me on Instagram at Foster Voice Studio, where I'm dropping little nuggets of vocal technique and leadership wisdom. You can also join my mailing list by visiting fostervoicestudio.com or by clicking the link in the show notes. I'll send a weekly vocal tip every Tuesday directly to your inbox. Until then, keep fostering your voice.